Welcome to this new episode of Let's Go Further Together with, and today we have Maria with us. I'm very happy to host you, Maria, today. Our podcast is to feature women in blockchain and AI who are driving forces in those ecosystems and building and shaping the future of tech. So Maria today is here with us, and she's a data scientist. She used to work in the corporate world, and then she moved as an entrepreneur. Today, she's the founder of Brise, and we will learn with her today her journey from transitioning the corporate world to the entrepreneurship and also all what's behind your AI journey. So, Maria, thank you for being here today. I would like to ask you a first big question, but which is always important in the entrepreneurship journey, is how do you make a transition, or why, maybe why as well, did you make a transition from your corporate position to the entrepreneurship position?
Amazing. Thank you, first of all, Lorena, for having me today. I'm really happy to be here. And to answer your question, that's I could give the long answer or the short version. But maybe the middle ground is that I have always been an entrepreneur because my mom was an entrepreneur. So I knew very early on that I wanted to have my own business. But then I also thought that the corporate world was a big playground to learn, right? To learn from the best in the field. So that's why I started in the corporate world. It was my dream to work for one of them. And then once I felt more independent, like I could do this on my own because I started before going full in. I started building some businesses on the side. I was always having some side businesses, and I did that for 4 or 5 years. And once I thought I was quite independent and that I could do it on my own, I left. Of course, I left the corporate world.
Okay, great. And I've seen that you worked in the corporate world on AI already, since you have
Mm,
this background of data scientist. Can
yeah.
you tell us what you are working on? What were the projects, and how this led you to develop and found Price today? What did
Yeah, that's
you, yeah.
interesting. I mean, when I first started working as a data scientist, the projects I was working on was like typical data science projects. It could go, and they were quite diverse too. It could go from predicting pulmonary edema, and then I went to sales forecasting, to predicting attrition, to creating Power BI dashboards. So it was quite diverse. And then, at some point, I had my first chatbot project, when I was still at EY. And that one was different because it was the first time that I was doing, yeah, something a bit different than what I was doing, which is, typical machine learning. And I was like, this is curious. And then I also thought it was a good time to kind of create some type of expertise because otherwise it was too vast. Data science is too vast, machine learning is too fast, and that didn't help with the imposter syndrome. So I was like, this sounds cool. It has a nice combination of everything. Let's maybe kind of niche down or something.
So you started while you were in the corporate world, building chatbots and working on developing conversational AI,
Mhm.
and then you founded Price, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce was really recent. Like, I founded Bryce in 2023. Yes, so I spent like around 6 years in the corporate world. That's what I discovered conversational AI between, my data science projects. And then, yeah, and then Bryce came, yeah, as I said, one part of me, I kind of, felt ready to do something on my own because I had already built credibility. I had the skills. I was working in the consulting industry, and I was like, if I'm doing the job anyways, being the middleman, I can actually do this on my own too. And I had offers. I was like, let's go for something when I can also create an impact, right? Because in the corporate world, that's not something that you can always have. And I was like, I have the chance now to work on the things that I really want to work on and to contribute to a bigger cause. So in 2023, I was like, now is the time. Many things pushed to that decision, but yeah, I felt just ready.
Okay, and what inspired you? What is this bigger cause?
Yeah, I mean, AI, as we all know, has the potential to change societies in a very dramatic way. And it could be in a good way, and it could be in a bad way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And coming from a minority, I was like, how can I make sure that underrepresented people don't get negatively impacted by this technology? How can I contribute? And that's where the idea of creating like human-centered conversational AI came in. I can elaborate more on that, but because what I was saying in my jobs, I came, across very weird cases where the board was saying, yeah, there was a lot of bias in some of the cases that we had, especially at the beginning. And I was like, oh my goodness, if this is how people, this is how, the response that you will be getting to people. If this is the behavior that, people will be receiving, and this is going to be deployed at scale, how do I make sure that I create something that is really protecting, that really protects people? Because in the corporate world, a lot of emphasis is oriented toward automation and automating as much as they can to reduce cost. And I'm like, yes, but what about the impact? Have you made sure not filtering, not putting like you can't, because those are filtering, filters, like no, not really just putting guardrail filters in place. It's like, are we assessing the impact, the customer impact of our solution? And more often the answer was not really. Let's just try something that protects us just enough to protect the brand because we don't want to appear bad on social media.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the story behind it. So I'm like, I want to build something that is, where I can first assess uh, all the things that can go wrong, really assessing before then putting safety filters. I want to assess the solution. I want to create something that balances efficiency and customer impact. If I'm creating a chatbot, it's not like how much is we automating. It's like, is the customer happy? Are we creating frustration instead of really helping the customer, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was the idea behind the initiative.
It's very interesting because as we educate on AI, we see that one of the pain points is the bias. So it's very good if this is something that you target as um, something that you would like to address and that you would like to make sure that it's we limit the risk of those bias from those tools. And so concretely, so now that you have identified that this is an issue, you have been through it, you have seen the responses, you have seen the bad impact on also organization of having those bias. Like, how do you help now companies? What are the projects that you implement in order to limit those bias risk linked to AI tools?
Yeah, one of our biggest projects to date is really where we provide customers with the safety infrastructure they need. It's really following a holistic approach, and it starts by first making sure that we are choosing the right models, is by providing them in assessment frameworks. So when you build chatbots, you have safety filters, guardrails that you can put in place. And I noticed that they were not assessing if it was there was bias in the chatbot, if there was any type of privacy concerns related to it. So we're providing different assessment frameworks to companies so they can
Okay.
assess the solution. And then we have guardrails too. And then it's really this holistic infrastructure. And we have the real-time monitoring. So we provide you with an infrastructure that allows you first to attest secure. You can monitor in real time to see if there is any danger on the responsive, if there is any pattern. While we are developing, we are making sure that we can detect any frustration in the sentiment. We are really tracking the customer sentiment while they are interacting with the chatbot or with the solution to make sure that at any point, the human can be there. We
Yeah.
provide. I'm like, we can automate it, but the human has to. They have to remain in the center. Like, and otherwise, yeah, you just like you you're not doing your job correctly. So that's more or less it. Provide a safety infrastructure to make sure that they can assess, secure, and measure the customer impact and make sure that customers are truly helped. And then when we develop the solution, we develop them with the customer experience in mind too.
Okay, so yes, you provide this external frameworks that is being embedded to the
Yeah.
system and to the chatbot in order to make sure that when it arrives to the client, it's facing the
Mhm.
client, it's already filtered and protected, and making sure that the data that is being out is has been handled. Because this is the thing, and it's depending of the data coming in, the
Mhm.
quality of the data going out is the quality of the data coming in. So you
Yeah.
go in the middle and you do like some study and assessment in the middle with the filters, and then you make sure that the quality of the data going out is good.
Yeah, indeed. That's also part of the thing that we do. So because like when you think about chatbots, like before putting a chatbot live, there is a lot of testing that goes with it, right? They want to make sure that the chatbot is giving the right responses. And what happened in the past is that most companies didn't really have the infrastructure to test at scale if the
Mm-hmm.
responses were correct. That's it
Yes.
was like one person taking one user, a query, putting it into the chatbot, and then measuring the output. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you evaluate, bias? You're one person looking at one user query. You have to take massive amounts of data
Yeah.
eh, and then really have a system going through all of those responses, comparing if the response that you gave to one who is a white Belgian guy, 32, or living in, I don't know, in Guatemala before, is it the same answer that you gave to Mohammed who lives, I don't know, I'm going to be going into stereotypes here, but don't imagine a suburb in Brussels who is applying to an energy plan. Are you giving the same responses to them? You will find that it's subtle. Because also that's the thing, like most companies think about bias in big terms like gender and
Yes. Yeah, true.
can
There's
be how subtle as your neighborhood or your name and those kind of things. So we really go in depth into trying to make sure, trying to find out if there is any type of bias in the data at scale. And then now
and
with calibration techniques, yeah.
and how do you make those adjustments after? What are the different types of adjustment that you make?
That's the thing. That's where the human in the loop comes into play.
Okay.
You see, so also being sure that you have different humans, like it's really about diversity because humans are biased. If the AI is
Yes,
biased,
of
because
course.
humans are biased.
Yeah, it's a copy of us. We
Yeah.
train.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the thing, like once we notice something, and also like the frameworks that we use, like, you will have different metrics where we see, the response is not the same. So you're supposed to give exactly the same response. I mean, of course, with some personalization in place, but the response is more or less supposed to be the same for the same topic, for the same user query, for different personalities, for different, and then if the algorithm is detecting differences in the responses for different target groups, then I'm re-highlighting that. And then the human, of course, can go through it and say, actually, this is okay. You always need human in the loops in those processes, and different, as I say, a diverse set of human in the loop.
But then you need someone to monitor the chatbot, actually. Do you need like human oversight for the chatbot?
So of course, most of it is automated, but again, is having the human in the process is super important. So we
Mm-hmm.
have the whole setup. That's why we call like automated testing, because everything is automated. The frameworks are already in the system. Everything is already there, but then you need the human, uh, especially for some edge cases, to go through it and say, oh yeah, of course, yeah, this is indeed something, that is not okay, and then and the process keeps going.
Because this is what I wanted to ask you. How do you
Mhm.
find balance between tech and human? But in the sense that I was thinking maybe the chatbot would be limited to certain feature and that the human would come in the process at certain point. But if I understand correctly, here the human is behind the chatbot, making sure the chatbot is doing a proper job, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can always have humans in different part of the process, because it's really human machine collaboration. You can, at the beginning, it's also the human providing the input,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Roles,
indeed.
yeah.
But I
It's
mean,
the
the user is talking with the chatbot, but is the user talking again to a human at one point or not?
It's important. That's the word, like that's at least how I see automation. You apply automation not where you could apply it, but where the process could be better. than what a
Mm-hmm.
human would do. And not all the processes are made to be automated because we still need humans there. So when I think about chatbot automation, if you see you could be helping your customers better by automating some of of the task of the queries, you automate them, but at some point, if you feel that is not enough, then you incorporate the human there. If the person wants to talk to a human, they should be, and they must be, they must have a human.
Yeah.
So they always finding the balance of what could the machine do better than the human, and where does the human need to be included? And finding that balance, I know it's tricky,
Yeah.
but it's needed. Yeah, it's important to find
Because
it.
I imagine that there are different factors that you have to take into consideration. It's not only the relationship with the customer, but it's also the cost benefit. It's also, there is many other factors that you have to take into consideration. For you, what are the main challenges for the clients to consider while implementing chatbots?
The main challenges, there are so many of them, but one of the things that we have found is that the first is sometimes hard to really understand what the customer needs. Because
Okay.
that's the thing, like you provide an answer, it might be the perfect answer because from the script, but maybe the customer wants something else. And that's where really monitoring the sentiment and just having a feedback loop where people can say this was valuable, this was not valuable, this was is important because then you kind of learn to know what they want in a way. So that's definitely one of the things, one of the challenges, knowing
Mm.
exactly what they want. Because some people just hate also chatbots and conversation AI in general, and that is something else.
Yeah, sometimes I ask, can I speak to a human, please?
Yeah, we have that like I don't want to put like please you stop it with stupid chatbot give me a human.
And then the frustration comes. Do you have in those statistics like this showing up for certain question or for certain cases? Is it like what are the cases where people get frustrated mostly?
Yeah, that's I mean it's tricky because when we look at the data, we find different trends. We have a group of people who just hate technology in general.
Okay.
They are against it, and they're like I just want to keep the human. Yeah, I just want a human, right? And then you have cases where the request or the need is so niche that they need a human too.
Yeah.
So and that's where you really have to look at the data and see, yeah, which processes it makes sense to have a human and in which processes should be automated. Because sometimes it's just so niche.
Yeah.
And for such rules of very hard like processes where you need so much input from the customer and to be able to solve the query, and even humans would need, yeah. So in those processes, you need.
And when you help your clients like setting up those chatbots, you also train then the teams be to be able to analyze the sentiment, to be able to take over when there is a specific request. How are you involved also with the backup scene, helping this chatbot to work and rewriting the scope of everyone's in the team working on the client support or working on client yeah, support? Are
Like
you
when
also involved in like rephrasing the workflow for the team?
Yeah, I mean, we have to, quite often we have to, because one big part of what we do is to really go through the conversations between users and the chatbot to detect the patterns. That's also how we detect the issues that we shouldn't automate, because we're like, this is so niche. And we could also see which issues they most often, where they often need a human, because they like we can see escalations for certain issues, and maybe lower escalation for other issues, or maybe they are the trouble struggle to guide them correctly through certain topics. So again, part of what we do is to analyze conversations between users and the chatbot to notice, to see patterns and also understand what people really need.
Yeah,
Uh,
then you get it.
yeah,
Because if you
yeah, and
don't
then we
know,
start
then
designing. Yeah.
yeah. But then if you identify that for a recurrent topic, people need a human. So
Mhm.
what will you do? You will add on the website another box where people can, regarding that request, have a direct contact or call a number. Or what's the approach if you see that pattern? How do you
But
address it?
yeah, it depends. If the specific topic has many queries, but the chatbot is handling it correctly, that's where resolution really matters. If the chatbot is handling it correctly, then you can bingo for everyone, right? Everyone
Yeah.
wins. Company wins because they can reduce costs, and people are happy because they get responses. But if you have a huge amount of queries for a certain topic, but the the agent or the conversation the chatbot is struggling to provide the right response for that specific query, then we kind of facilitate the handover for those specific queries, or we go to the traditional approach that I help with, with uh, the traditional NLP with different buttons. But I hope we will not go back there. So far, what we do currently is to just facilitate handovers for such queries.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, good, good. And how do you see chatbots for small and medium companies versus for big companies? Do you think it's really an added value for smaller companies?
Of course, smaller companies, they struggle with budget. They don't have big budgets. So I think they could see, huge gains. They could have huge gains from implementing such solutions. Um, so I think it makes sense, absolutely, for them to, especially for them, to have a good chatbot in place because it's having like an extra employee for way less. Even so, again, it's not really about replacing every time the people, but if you could have maybe 20 people, then you could have, then, you reduce the team so they could, be doing some more useful or meaningful tasks.
Do you
If
have
they,
any tips on do you have any tips on return on an investment about having a chatbot? Like why would like a company have a chatbot? Because you say they can make some gains. So how
yeah.
how do you see that?
That's a good one. That's a good one. And also one thing that something that we provide also our holistic platform. That's why I call it holistic because it goes until the ROI, the return
Yes.
on investment. Because there have been many discussions about the ROI of those solutions. Like you think they're going to reduce cost, and then we look at the data and you're like, actually the time that we spend trying to find what the time spent trying to come up with something that works, that doesn't hallucinate, is so high that you're like, are we sure that we're actually gaining money from this? But at the end of the day, yes, I think the research is there and the studies are there. Yeah, that you can definitely see gains, and they see gains more often with unexperienced human agents.
Ah, okay.
Because yeah, if you have like a chatbot assistant with part of the things, with part of the user queries, and because sometimes because they are less experienced, they couldn't do a better job than a chatbot actually, and they could see how the process works and all of that. So I think in terms of gains, they definitely see those gains, and then it depends on the level of automation and the level of resolution rate. Because sometimes what happens too is that because you don't really solve the user query, the person is frustrated, and then will go to the human anyway. Like
Yes.
he will just be hungrier than at the beginning.
Yes, that's the downside. If you don't manage it properly or you don't assess properly, then it can have a reverse effect, a
Yeah,
negative effect. So indeed,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So now the goal is to help the companies to have a better service and to make sure that the end user, because you do that indeed for your benefit, for your cost benefit, but it has
Mhm.
to serve your company. It has to serve
Yeah.
your service. So it has to be, you have to take into consideration your client, your user, and but it can also be used, it can be leveraged for upselling, no? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, that's actually a good use case. Like in my, with my other brand Snatch, we used the chatbot for so many things. Besides assisting, people, I could use it for upscaling, for upselling, like selling, um, and also for even for lead generation. I use
Yeah,
the chat
yeah.
too. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really for different purposes. That's why I said earlier that it makes sense for a small company to have such solution in place. It could really bring them some incredible gains if set up properly.
And what's your vision for the future? For the future, how do you see it evolving? How do you see the chatbots evolving on the internet?
Yeah, I think it will be more accessible. We can already see that today. It will be more accessible for everyone to use. It will be more multimodal. Like right now, we talk about chatbots, but yeah, I have been developing more like text and voice bots. And
Yes.
now with generative AI, you can combine. You don't have to text anymore. You can combine all of that. So I think we will have way multimodal, assistance. We will have more of that. A lot will also evolve when it comes to really explainability and safety testing. Now with the EU Act, I think that we have so many changes happening. Different, those changes are different from companies and to consumers. But those are the things that I see coming up.
So more multimodal and being also regulated and having ethics being involved.
Yeah. It will be a
Yeah.
requirement. It's already a requirement with the EU Act. You have to have to prove that your solution is safe. You have to prove that. I think I can see regulators asking them for more and more safety testing audits to just hold them accountable. Like also like with the EU Act, you have like different risks, you right, for different AI solutions. So far, AI is conversational AI chatbots are not really considered very high risk, but I can see that also the EU Act with the years, through the years being, expanding more to include such solutions too, even, especially in regulated industries such as energy, banking, energy. They will definitely include for conversational AI
I
as
hope so, because
yeah.
there is also this danger that the other day I had a phone call and I didn't know that it was a conversational AI voice,
Hmm.
and I got tricked. And when I realized it, because it was very well spoken, is as when you do the chat conversation on a GPT, is the same
Yeah,
kind of easygoing conversation.
yeah.
And I was
Hmm.
wondering, in terms of ethic, we should
Be aware.
announce when you're talking to
Hmm.
an AI. I mean, it
Yeah,
should be like a basic. You shouldn't
yeah,
be tricked as a human that you're
yeah.
talking, you should know about it. So for me, that was something that should be considered and assessed in the policy, in the policies that they're launching. And I hope, because as the border between the technology and human beings is becoming smaller and smaller,
Hmm.
we don't have much anymore intimacy, and we don't
Yeah.
know with AI what is true, what is not true. So I think we need to be double careful. And now, as you mentioned as well, that chatbots going multimodal as well on a website or
Hmm.
whatever, it could be that even on a aesthetical level, we wouldn't
Hmm.
see it. It would be like an agent somewhere, and you would just
Hmm.
react to a button, and then the agent behind it, it's a chatbot, but you wouldn't even realize anymore. So I feel that there's some danger, because if you don't even know you're interacting with AI, you
Yeah.
cannot be aware of the limitation of AI. Because if today at least we educate our citizens and society about AI and how to be aware about the limitation of AI, it's one
Hmm.
thing. But if it becomes so good that we
Yeah.
don't, that it's embedded in our digital lives, we need to make sure that we know we're interacting with AI. For me, this is very important.
Absolutely. And actually, that's one of the first things that we always incorporate, especially when we deploy a solution, a customer-facing solution. People must be aware they are interacting, with an AI system. No question about it. And also, like one part that kind of annoys me or scares me or really is the data part. Like when people should be aware of how their data is going to be is being handled and which data is being is being taken for other purposes.
Yes,
Because right now you look at I was like experimenting with this those connectors now on Cloud. I'm like, I'm giving you access to on my computer. Which data are you taking that I didn't? Maybe I gave you permission somewhere I'm not even aware of which permission I gave you. And we
true.
just taking it. Most people don't know that the data is being, which data is being taken from them and for which
Yeah.
purposes is
And
going to be
yeah,
for.
it's a huge thing because big data is something. And today in this world, we have most of our life also in
Yeah.
business and private online.
Mm-hmm.
So data is everywhere. It could be from a transaction, a payment transaction that they know you spent something, from a picture to
Yeah.
anything, from your heater at home connecting when you are at home, when you are not, like many things. We don't even
Yeah.
know the IoT is providing so many more data that data is everywhere. So indeed, the way that data is being used, your personal data is being used, it's for me a challenge. This is also why we're doing a lot of blockchain and decentralization to learn
Mm-hmm.
how to store data and handle big data because
Yeah.
it's we are in the age of data exploding. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not now, it's since already years, but now we see the issue with AI because
Absolutely.
AI is performing because of big data.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the feature of the performance of AI. But if today AI is so powerful, it's because it's being trained at a higher level because of it's being provided with a lot of input, which allows the AI to be more powerful. So it has good things, but also very challenging times. Let's see how the future look like. And
Yeah.
what are your projects for the moment? What are you working on, Maria?
Yeah, I mean the big one, the biggest one is the one I mentioned, the AI safety infrastructure, because we already have it. Actually, some of our clients are using it, but we wanted to make it more complete, more holistic. And as I said, like really measuring things like such as bias is super important for us. So we are kind of improving the platform at the moment with with plans to kind of deliver it around January Q1 we fingers crossed but that's the biggest one finishing
Okay,
the accept infrastructure.
amazing. Looks good. Well, where can clients reach you if they want to know more about the chatbot? If they want to know more about your services, where is it best to reach you?
They can reach me on my LinkedIn, our website. We are currently, revamping it, but it will come soon. It'll be ready soon. So the website is brise.ai. They can find us there, and yeah, and then my LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Maria. That's great.
Thank you, Lorena.
We had a great conversation today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.
See you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Maria.